Hello guys and welcome to another tutorial about programming. And in this one we are going to talk about how we can compose a project, right, with another library we can grab from GitHub as a submodule using CMake. Now CMake is kind of like the the most common tool to use to describe or configure your code or your project. And it's able to do more like actually building it and running it kind of thing. However, right, but the primary focus we're going to use it today is just to make it to configure our Visual Studio solution. Right, we're going to try to create our project, and also we're going to add a submodule with GitHub, and then we link and run our project with a submodule. Okay. Anyway, so we can go start with building our project first. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new folder. Call this one game project. Have one on top called PRJ already, so I'm gonna go create a different name. So first of all, right, we need to go ahead and set up a GitHub repositories, Git repository. So we just type in cmd in the directories. Right, so we just need to do type in cmd here, right, and then we can do git init, okay, and then that will add our git folder there, right, and then we're gonna try to start using CMake, and so we need to create a new file. I can actually do that in here. So if I just go ahead and do copy con and then CMake, has to be exactly the same name. It's case sensitive. Okay. Lists.txt. Okay, and then I don't want to type in anything here yet. Just create one real quick and let me open it. Okay, I can probably open it with Visual Studio in this case. So I'm gonna open with Visual Studio. I have 2019. I don't want 2015. Selector maybe. Yeah. All right. So we need to first type in the basic requirement for the version. I don't know that's really that important, but you can type in CMake minimum required. Okay, good thing about Visual Studio is that it's kind of like having the auto completion for this. I don't know why, but it does have that. So just say version, and then the version I'm using is 3.19.4. But you can make a smaller, earlier version if you think that there's nothing specifically needed from this version you're using. Okay, all right, and then we need to go ahead and start creating our solution. Okay, so solution is called project in here. Okay, and then we can name the project in whatever way. Oh, sorry, in this case, the solution, right, in whatever way we want. So we can just say game project, I guess. Okay, this will create a solution called game project. Okay, alrighty, and then we can start to add a few actual project. So that's actually something we call add executable or add library, based on if you're making a executable or a library. Okay, now here we're going to create, of course, a executable. So add executable, right? This is not adding something like something.exe. This is basically adding a project that will be used to build a exe, right? Instead of on the contrary, right, add library, we'll add something that will build a dynamic or static library. So this is basically the type of the project you're adding. Both sides add a project to your solution when it comes to Visual Studio. So don't make the name confuse you. That's adding a project. Okay. All right, and then we can start to type in the name of the project, right? And that's I'm gonna go for the same as the name of the solution. So project name again. This is not a project name. This is the solution name when it comes to Visual Studio. and workspace name when it comes to Xcode in this case, right? So basically this $sign parentheses is basically saying that we're gonna get the value of this variable. This is a variable created when you have the project created, or in this case the solution project. Solution created, and then here the project name will be the solution name actually, and then we're just getting the value of that, which is game project. So this will be evaluated to this basically, right? So we then can start to specify the source files. We don't have any, so I'm gonna go ahead and create a new folder. I'm gonna call this one game project maybe. And inside of it, I'm gonna go create some files. So maybe the main CPP. Okay. And then maybe a new folder just to show you we can do this. And so maybe classes or something, just, yeah. And I'm gonna create a new file. Let's call it class .h, and then class.cpp. This is experimental name, so they really don't do anything. Okay, and they're kind of empty. Okay, all right. In the main CPP, we can probably yeah. Let me just drag it over to Visual Studio. Okay, we can probably just have a very simple program like hash include. Okay, and then IO stream, and then we do int main, and oh, we do a stdcout, I guess. Hello world. Right, we have the very simple hello world program. Okay, now here we have some files. We can gather those files by using the file command. Okay, and then we can say global and then global recurse. So basically we're trying to find everything that is inside of a directory if we specify, right, and we put that into a variable name. So we can call this guy files or source files. Okay, and project source files. Okay, all right, and then we can start to type in the files, and that can be any file we want to specify, or we can use wildcards. In this case, this is going to be in game project, and then there we're going to say, yeah, we just right inside of here, right? So we can say anything that's .h, or anything that's inside a game project .cpp. So everything that's named as inside of the folder, and then say it's their name .h or .cpp, that because we marked as recursive is also going to find anything that's in the subdirectory. Okay, again, everything here we gathered will be put into this variable, right? So here we can just specify when we're creating a project here, right? We're gonna use, again, $sign here. We're gonna just use everything inside of this variable. Okay, so again, everything that has this pattern will be gathered through this command file into this variable, which will be created, right? And then when we're creating our project, we're using these guys as the associated files. That's all the H and CPP files. Okay. All right. Eventually, we want this project to be our startup project, if that makes sense. In Visual Studio, right, we can say set property. Right, we're going to set some property, and the property we're going to set is directory. Okay. Here, the directory we're going to define is the current source directory. So cmake current source directory, right? And then the property we'll define, property we're going to define is the VS startup project. Okay, and then the startup project, of course, will be the same as the project, so project name in this case. Okay. All right. So that's basically setting this project we're gonna create, this one, add executable. Not this one, again, that's the solution. Okay, so we're gonna basically say, okay, Visual Studio, your startup project will be that. Of course, this is Visual Studio specific. We can say if MSVC, right, Microsoft Visual Studio, right, and then we do that, and we can do like an end if, I guess, here. Okay, this is their own language. This is one thing that bothers me with CMake. Like, why can't you just use some other language that's kind of like high level, like Python or something? It's easier than trying to learn a new language, and this feels really cryptical to me. I believe there's another one that's similar to CMake, which is called the Premic. That one uses Lua, which is a much cleaner language in my opinion. Anyway, so let's not judge this. Let's keep on going, right? So this is basically the minimum we need to do to set up our project, right? So from here now on, what we can do is we can go ahead and start to run it. So we can go back to the folder that we have, the CMake list.txt. We can open command prompt and we can start to use CMake. Okay, so I'm gonna just say CMake, and then the source location will be where we are now. The source means where is this guy, basically. And then where do we want to build it? We can say the build directory -b will be a folder called build. Okay, hit enter, right? And then it's gonna build for Visual Studio and do everything needed. If everything goes well, right, it's gonna create that build folder with a solution created for us. We can, of course, double click to open that and to take a look. Okay, you can see we have everything here. Actually, it's using our build as the startup project for some reason. But this is the game project it created for us, and we have all the files. The header file, that's the class.h, class cpp, and main.cpp, right? They're all in there. Okay, I'm not sure why it doesn't really set this one to be the primary startup project for some reason. Yeah, so probably need to let me do some testing. I'm gonna close Visual Studio here and get rid of everything, I guess. Yeah, they're all gone. So let me try again, maybe in our CMake list. Microsoft Visual Studio. I don't remember the keyword. That has something. Microsoft Visual Studio. Visual Studio Code. If that's Visual Studio Code, then that wouldn't help us. But let's try. Right. So I'm gonna have that, and then do another CMD, and then I'm gonna try to run this again. CMake -s, right, and then -b, and then that's gonna be in build. Okay, let me try that. Yeah, now it's happy with that. So I guess I'm typing the wrong keyword. So basically, now it's using that as our primary project. It's building the other two projects, right? It's in there for some reason. I don't really like them, but this build is good. It's kind of actually will build everything in there. So anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to, of course, build our project. I see everything went well, and we can even try to run it. You can see it does print hello world, so everything is cool, everything is good. So yeah, that's basically now how can we can use a CMake, right, to create a project, right? We can define some of the basics, like what files they're using, right? And then, you know, the start project with, you know, this line of code. So yeah, that's gonna be the first video, right? How to get CMake to work for us to get something done. Of course, you have to install CMake. If you're using command line tools, you have to check to add CMake to the system path when you're installing it. Don't forget to do that, otherwise it's not gonna work. Okay, and that's it for this video. In the next one, we're gonna keep on going and add a sub module, right? Actually, let me go ahead and do one thing, right? Git status. Yeah, I have all those things need to add it. I probably need to add a git ignore actually. So let me do that real quick. Sorry about that. So I'm gonna go back here and say clear screen git. Oh, actually not git. Copy com.git ignore. Right. Don't need anything. So add the git ignore. And I just need to get everything I need from Visual Studio. You know what this is, right? So this is not a GitHub tutorial, so don't worry about it. I'll go ahead and set your git ignore and commit it. And then in the next video, we're gonna go ahead and add a submodule. Okay, see you guys next time.